sounds like a concept.
As soon as you want it, I'll hold it back.
So we're on your porch.
Okay. Well, we're out here, and this is our fabulous porch, one of our porches. We like the screen porch, but we're on the open porch now, right?
Uh-huh.
And,
we're vulnerable.
anyway.
From attacks from bugs.
Yeah,
Bugs,
yeah.
coyotes.
Yeah, actually, sometimes
neighbors.
you come out here and there's birds all over the inside of the porch. Amazingly, they'll come up onto things, and, you know, I guess because there's bugs, there's moths. At night, when the light is on, there's thousands of moths up here, and then in the morning, the birds will come up onto the porch and come along the wall and
do the cleanup.
Eat the moths from the night before that are hanging around. Yeah, you know.
Then we let the cat out. The cat eats the birds. And then, when the SPCA is asleep, I eat the cat.
Actually, we don't let the cat out. Because we're afraid the cat will get eaten by coyotes.
Or worse.
Which, you know, or worse. That giant cat we saw last year.
Oh, there's a cat in the woods?
Cat. Well, we're not sure what it was. Somebody thought it was a fisher. It had been seen in the area by a few people. It had a long tufted tail.
Uh-huh.
It was sort of a chocolate brown. I only saw it for maybe like a beat, like not even I mean, it was so fast. You know, when you see animals here, you don't see them for very long. But anyway, about the porch, right? When we saw this house, we decided that we loved this house because of the porch. And I grew up in a house with a porch very similar to this porch that wraps all around the house. And this is a colonial house. The house I grew up in was a Victorian, so it was 100 years. This is 100 years older than that house was. So that house, the porch was a bit higher and more circular at the edges than this is square, you know, very colonial square. But I was telling you the story of growing up in that house in a big family, and whenever my parents would be upset at us kids for whatever reason, they, you know, God knows with that many kids,
I can think of one.
You could just, any reason would do. So they would say, okay, you're all grounded, go upstairs. I mean, the upstairs of the house had 5 bedrooms. It was huge. But the veranda on the bottom met second floor porches on the side of the house. And along one side of the porch came this giant elm tree, which, you know, we don't have very many elm trees anymore in North America, but at that time, and elm trees always sort of leaned. They were always kind of this sideways, you know, beautiful. And they weren't like maples. They didn't have a lot of branches. They were more easier to climb, easier to get into, easier to go down. So we would go up.
Like a bouquet of feathers.
What?
They were like a bouquet of feathers. Like a fan.
Yeah, they were like a bouquet of feathers at the top. So we would go upstairs and say, okay, fine, you want to ground us? We'd go upstairs. And then we would all go into the back bedroom where this big upstairs porch was. And we'd go out on the porch, climb into the elm tree, and just go down into the yard. And our parents, you know, the trick was to make sure they didn't see us from the kitchen, because this was like at the back of the house. And we would all sneak down and take off. And our parents would think, you know, oh, they're so quiet, and it's, you know, and we were up there. Meanwhile, we had all gone upstairs, gone on the porch. We loved that porch. I mean, that porch was like a godsend. So, and then when we wanted to come home, of course, we couldn't go in through the normal doors. So we would climb back up the tree, back onto the porch, and the last person was only allowed to close the screen door onto the porch in case we were locked out or something, you know. And it was so funny when I think of it now, you know, that the freedom that we had, you know, the wildness and the freedom that kids really don't have as much of that today, you know, as we had. But
can't even run across the lawn because you might get ticks.
Yeah, exactly. There's ticks, there's predators, there, you know.
There's neighbors.
I mean, this was in a
Grab you girls.
city too. You must have a good porch story.
I just want to know one thing.
What did we do to
The
get
5
grounded?
children. There was I know how parents can
Just
be
loud.
aggravated.
We were just loud.
So it was like you and like 3 brothers, 2 girls, and 3
no,
boys.
I mean, I have 8 siblings. There's 9 of us.
Yeah.
So it would probably be my brothers who would get everybody so riled up that all of us would be expelled to the upstairs of the house.
I mean, the idea of a tree dripping children
3
next
fighting
to a porch.
boys is enough to drive everybody crazy.
Good. That's what I wanted to know.
3 fighting boys. And our brothers, we'd get up there, and believe me, every person would walk past them. Because they were younger. And they were always in some kind of trouble, So, but porches and verandas and second floor porches have always been a part of my life. So when we were looking for a new house to buy, this house stood out because, first of all, Stephen loved the landscape here, being a painter, and was a big, and I did too. But I loved this porch. I just thought, this is just, it reminded me so much of growing up, and having a porch like this. So,
Well, where I grew up, we didn't have porches.
Really?
No.
No, it was like post-World War II Montreal. They weren't built with verandas and porches. I mean, in that neighborhood. I mean, there's other ones where Ricky and they lived. They had porches, but no, we were just on the cusp of that nice modern slab suburban ranch style that I love so much.
50s house.
Yeah.
50s houses. Yeah, it's true. In the 50s, nobody had porches. They
Really?
had these. No, they were kind of like brick and.
Your station wagon and your car was your porch, and it was moving at 60 miles an hour. And that's what you did. You didn't sit still and look at the world going by. You got in your car and you went by the world. It was a whole other transition thing. But I did have an experience with a porch. Because I went to summer camp. And the summer camp was in this region, up in Vermont around Lake Bomazine. And it was on a small lake, the camp. And we would take these hikes. The hikes were great. They give you a couple of sandwiches, 1 bologna and 1 tuna, and a
That you remember.
That I remember. Nothing else. That was so good because I couldn't wait to eat it.
The rocking chair, but yeah.
No, the rocking chair is like I couldn't eat the rocking chair. I haven't finished it. Start putting some more peanut butter on it, honey, and I'll remember that rocking chair forever.
Okay.
So,
anyway, bologna, tuna.
Bologna and tuna, and a hike. And we take a little hike. And it was to this abandoned summer camp, which had been left to rot, and it was called Camp Columbia. And it had a giant building with a balcony or a porch, whatever you want to call it, all around it.
A porch.
And we would go into this.
Only a balcony that's on the 2nd floor.
Oh, okay. So it was a porch.
Yeah.
And we would go running around this porch. And of course, it was old, so half of the boards were like slapping you in the ass as you walked past them, because they'd be coming up like a cartoon. And that's where we would go in there. I remember to eat our sandwiches, but I also remember my favorite part of the porch was not the porch itself, which was cool, and it was nice to be part of something that was so decayed you could imagine all kinds of things having happened to it, as well as it having been all sorts of things before the things happened to it. But underneath the porch, oh God, the spiders that lived there were the best.
Oh, I have an under the porch story.
What's your under the porch story? I bet
you go ahead and finish.
So anyway, that was it. I just liked to eat my
Spiders.
sandwich and look at spiders.
Under the porch.
Under the porch.
Well, I have an under the porch story.